Today on the channel, we're going to take a look at Guitar for the Practicing Musician from February of 1990. Alright everybody, we're going to take a look at Guitar for the Practicing Musician from February of 1990. So this was a long time ago. As you can tell by the photographs, we've got Steve Vai and David Coverdale. This is when Steve Vai was wrapping up Passion and Warfare, and he joined Whitesnake for Slip of the Tongue. So I'm going to apologize. This is probably, I haven't looked through it, but this magazine's probably going to miss a few pictures because I met Steve Vai. I've met Steve Vai half a dozen times. I got to talk about that sometime on my channel. There's some pretty cool stories. But the very first time I met Steve Vai was on the Ultrazone tour, and I knew I was going to meet him, so I cut out about, I'm not lying, probably 20 or so. I took 20 pages probably from guitar magazines and had him autograph all of them, and I still have them to this day. I need to do a video on that stuff. That'd be kind of fun. So there may be some pages missing in this, hopefully not a lot. But let's see, we've got Whitesnake, Kitten's Got Claws. Not a fan of that tune. ZZ Top, LaGrange, Alice Cooper, School's Out, Tesla, Love Song. I love Tesla. Love me ZZ Top. I like Alice Cooper, pretty cool stuff. All right, digging in here. Got the Comanche. Looks like a bass. Looks like a bass, a Telecaster, and a Strat all in one. Shrapnel Records. This is probably one of the last advertisements seen for Shrapnel. This was right when, this was right before grunge hit, 1990. Things were about to change. Things were starting to change. All right, let's see what we got here. Can barely read this page. I always hated it when they put like pink on blue pages and stuff. So we got a Tesla feature in here. David Coverdale, Whitesnake, Steve Vai, Rudy Sarzo, Adrian Vandenberg. Gonna hear from the whole band. Stevie Ray Vaughan, Jeff Beck. Man, I wonder what Stevie Ray would be doing these days. Saw Stevie Ray Vaughan play at Cornell University back in the mid-'80s. Couldn't Stand the Weather tour. Awesome. Never have seen Jeff Beck. I've got both these albums. Guitar Shop. It's a cool album. Pretty cool. Very cool, I should say. Let's see, Tom Kiefer playing the Gibson strings. They had just released Heartbreak Station, I believe, when this came out, or they were about to release Heartbreak Station. It's a great album. Look at Rudy. Nowadays, Rudy kind of looks like Skeletor. Poor guy's getting real old. He's got really long, straight hair. He's got the 80s perm going on. I like Rudy, though, man. He's a nice guy. He's a great bass player, too. It's a cool bass. I like this headstock. You know, it kind of matches this body. It's kind of like this through body neck. They got this wood that goes all the way up through it, or it looks like it. Neat. Digging it. Okay, I'm gonna skip this Washburn ad. Got the Hartkey stuff. Who cares, man? Bass, acoustics, blah. What are they talking about on this page? I'm missing some stuff here. Editor's note, editor's stuff, letters to the editor. Let me read one of these. Let's just see what they got to say. These people always crack me up. This guy's from Memphis. Maybe it's a woman, Kelly Mills. First, I'd like to say that I think your magazine is excellent. The new column entitled Classics Illustrated is a welcome addition to the magazine. I thought Jimi Hendrix was way ahead of his generation. I consider him one of the best. But if your readers take some time and listen to Andre Segovia collection of classical work, he would be a great influence on them. To listen to his playing on Prelude for Lute from his Bach works, and then consider the time is May of 1954. It's incredible to compare him to the guitarists of the day. He's truly a master of the guitar. Yeah, Andre Segovia is a master. He is definitely a brilliant player, but You know, he didn't write Machine Gun. All right, comparing him to Hendrix. That's like comparing, you know, cat litter to mashed potatoes. Andre Segovia and Jimi Hendrix. Okay, there's a comparison for you. See, let's read one more letter, see what we can get ourselves into. Let's see. Dear Guitar, please keep the great things coming. Robert Phillips' article on finger-picking classics illustrated is in the October 1989 issue was most helpful. As a beginning guitarist who is entirely self-taught, I appreciate such useful information. I bought the October issue solely for that article. My money was well spent. I'd love to see more like it. Very thoughtful for people to actually write letters in, you know, drive down to the mailbox or the post office, and then, you know, they got to pay people to read these letters and type them up. Pre-internet, pre-email. Okay, let's see. It's a pretty scary photo. I'm going to say something that may make some people mad. But first I'll say the nice thing. Paul Gilbert, I met the dude, seen him play live. Great guy, man. One of my favorite players. Legitimately one of my favorite players. But man, this dude, I don't know, man. He had some questionable fashion choices, man. First glance when I saw his picture, I mean, it's like a butterface. Looked like this girl I used to date in 11th grade, man. Funky shirt, and I don't know, that expression. Oh well. Love Paul Gilbert. Reading about what he's saying here. They brought him in the listening room, and that's what this is. They bring him in and they play him some stuff. I guess get his opinion. Evil Eye from Alcatraz. He says that's obviously the live version of Evil Eye. This is a classic. Yngwie's tune. I'm mostly familiar with the studio version. And they played If Forever from Passion by Robin Trower. That was obviously Robin Trower. It sounds like the singer who used to be in Gamma. Not familiar with that. Thunder and Lightning. They're playing him some weird stuff. What else did they play him here on this left-hand page? Subway from Vox Humana. Don't really care about any of this stuff. Confusion and Saint Duke. Okay, not interested. Vandenberg. Now this is a cool guitar. These guitars look like really small scale guitars. I mean, they look like a kid's guitar, like the Ibanez's that you can buy that are like 3/4 scale, and the little Fenders that you can get. These are very collectible. These PVs, they're very limited run. I love them though, man. They're pretty cool. Heard a podcast with him on it. I think he was on a Chris Jericho podcast a couple of years ago, and he's been painting, and he's been all this time he's been working on art and stuff like that. Any 8 CDs or 12 cassettes for 1 cent. This is why so many records probably went like 5 times platinum, in all honesty, because I think they counted all these sales. Not saying that they didn't deserve to sell that many albums, but if you can buy 12 CDs for a penny, come on. Look, what do we got here? This is called Resume. Look at this guy here. Looks like he should play in the Monkees. Look, what kind of chord is that he's playing? Come on, man. We get it. You're a college student. 10 years ago, you studied classical probably. He says he's 18. 18? He looks 37 to me. He's from New York City. He's influenced by John Coltrane, Michael Brecker, Mike Stern. He plays a Kramer Pacer and a Guild Arch top and a Takamine Classical, Roland Jazz Chorus 120. All right, Boss pedal board. Look at this guy here. This guy looks like I bet you this guy had a life of crime after this. Jamie McKeever, he's 23 in that picture. His influences are Vinnie Moore, Robert Clark, and Steve Morse. He plays a Les Paul Custom. Good choice. I began playing the guitar at age 15. Paul Gilbert was his local guitar hero. That always matters a lot. When you're in an area and you've got guitar players that are in your area that you can compete with or look up to, it really paves the way for you and gives you inspiration. Especially if you have people you compete with in school. And I think that's why people don't play so much in high school and you don't see a really guitar. I mean, you see it out there these days. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not dead, but back in the 80s, it was kind of like a competitive sport, but in a positive way. You wanted to go home and play and play and play and go back to school the next day and be like, hey, look, I learned the new Aerosmith lick or whatever. All right, Peavy's endorsing the Alice Cooper band here. Nita Strauss was not even a zygote at this time, so she's not in that picture. All right, we got some digital effects. The 90s were riddled with digital effects. Okay, we're still on the resume. Look at this guy. This guy probably can shred, man. I can tell right now this guy's serious. He's got this natural curly hair. He's wearing the George Lynch edition tank top. His name's Darren. Darren Householder. What kind of last name is Householder? Age 24. That dude looks like he's almost 40. Come on. He plays a Kramer Holo Flash Sustainer, a Laney AOR 100, SPX 90, and a Hush 2. So that's probably pretty professional equipment for the time. His personal statement: I began playing guitar at age 15. Although a late beginner, I received 2 partial scholarships to Berkeley. Wonder how long he lasted at Berkeley. Man, if he went all 4 years there, that dude's still paying that college loan off. Unless he got he didn't get any tuition assistance. This dude's from Van Nuys. Dude, why wouldn't you go to GIT? I mean, you're in... Okay. Gotta go to Berkeley. I got accepted at Berkeley. I had a room set up and everything. They liked my demo tape. I decided not to. I went to a different music school that I'll leave it anonymous, but I decided I didn't want the debt. Let me tell you guys, studying the little black dots, no matter where you learn the little black dots, the notes, they're the same no matter what college you go to. Tesla, look at these guys. Saw these guys open for David Lee Roth on Eat 'Em and Smile. They were playing the Mechanical Resonance album. It says here, Tesla had toured with David Lee Roth Band. What do you know? And longtime idols Def Leppard. Regarded far and wide as an honest-to-goodness working man's band, Tesla has come to represent in their integrity, individuality, and unflagging fidelity to the band ethic, the modern heavy rock equivalent of the Stones and Aerosmith. That's a good comparison. I like Tesla, man. Listening to Tesla records taught me a lot. Frank Hannon taught me a lot about using different types of effects and multi-tracking, acoustics and electrics. Listening to Tesla records and Def Leppard records, Mutt Lange stuff. Of course, Van Halen and all, but I mean, I really like the way they layered their guitars on their records. I need to listen to some Tesla. I haven't listened to Tesla in a couple of years. I don't know why. I just haven't. It's funny how you listen to music and then all of a sudden you stop listening to something. Like you listen to an album for, the only band I really haven't stopped listening to for a great length of period of time is really Van Halen, because their stuff is fresh and there's so many different types of albums. When I get tired of one album, or not tired of it, but sick of hearing something for a while, I'd go to like some Sammy Hagar stuff, or I'll go back to like Deep Cuts Van Halen, or I'll go to Twister soundtrack. You name it. Dave Davies of the Kinks, Out of the Ordinary. He's got He's got a mini humbucker, it looks like, in that telly. He's got a Gibson pickguard, and he's got like a toggle switch and four-way. That is, I mean, that's strange. That's weird. Charvel. Guys, if you've not seen the Charvel documentary on YouTube that came out recently, do yourself a favor and watch it. I didn't think I was going to find it too interesting. I got hooked in like 10 minutes. I watched the whole thing. It's like an hour and a half long. It's awesome. Killer Michael Anthony stuff in there. I didn't know they made the Jack Daniels bass. A lot of history. I'm not going to read all this kink stuff. I mean, no disrespect. Buddy guy, man. He's working up a sweat. I wonder what kind of guitar that is. That's probably a Guild or something. Oh, the Governor. I had a Governor too. These are good pedals. If you can find these things. This is a gem. This is a diamond in the rough. These Governor pedals, these Marshall pedals. If you find one, get it. Snag it. Especially if it's under like 50 bucks, 60 bucks. Then that's a no-brainer. I mean, send me a message, I'll buy it. Here's the performance notes. They give you a little, Andy Eldort gave you like performance notes on how to, you know, play the tunes. Kind of gives you the theoretical breakdown, so you can prepare yourself to be working on the material. Lola. La 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 Lola. My girlfriend had a poodle named Lola. She was like 16 years old. She finally passed away. I shouldn't say finally. Makes it sound like it was like I was waiting on it to happen. She was sweet. She was blind and deaf the last 6 months of her life. She would walk in circles. She had dementia. It was pretty sad. So here, Joe Satriani was writing articles, like giving you tips on playing and stuff. So that's kind of cool. Guitar secrets. Thrash metal progressions and chord patterns are often complex and difficult to solo over. They contain a high number of modulations, key changes, and temporary tonal center shifts. Add to that a drop-dead hyper-crunch rhythm, and you've got your work cut out for you. If you're a fan of Metallica, Exodus, Testament, etc., then you've heard the soloists in these bands playing more than the usual pentatonic scale. They draw on a wide vocabulary of scales and modes to create their solos. So he goes into like Lydian, Dorian, Hungarian, symmetrical. All right, first of all, this is all crap. I'm going to tell you right now, this is garbage. This Hungarian, symmetrical. I used to read this stuff and go, man, I got to learn all this stuff. I mean, these guys in these bands selected notes that sounded good. They didn't think about, oh, we're in G sharp. I'm going to have to play a symmetrical Hungarian scale over this. What guys like Satriani have done that are masters, they go back and they look at the note selections these guys picked, and then they figure out a way to dictate, you know, on paper what it was. But I guarantee you, you could ask Kirk Hammett to this day, man, play me a Hungarian scale. He'd look at you like you were crazy, and he'd just want to talk about like Wolfman or something, Count Dracula, which is much more interesting. Not putting down music theory. I'm a music student, and it's good to know, but I always thought those Joe Satriani articles were bloated, and I'm going to keep my mouth shut. I love Joe Satriani. Super Colossal, Crystal Planet, two of the best albums ever, instrumental rock. Looking at this love song transcription. This had some really pretty dual acoustic stuff in it. I never really learned it though because I didn't have another guy to play it with. You know, no one, like I wasn't playing at a band when the song came out, and so I'd play along to the record, but you know, when it would start strumming and playing, you know, I'd play along with it. But great intro. Taught me a lot about harmony though and dual parts. Jennifer Batten, I guess this is when she got the boot from Michael Jackson's band, or maybe right before she joined, in all honesty. This was, I guess, right around that whole time she was doing it. She joined what, after, I guess she was she on the Beat It tour? And the Bad tour? I can't remember. She's a great player. I listened to a podcast with her lately too. She's a little out there, but all of us guitar players are out there, as you can tell by my music videos I put out on YouTube. I'm a little strange myself sometimes, I'm not gonna lie. School's out. Song is an E. The first Alice Cooper record, actually like the first 2 or 3 are like untouchable. The first record, man. His original band. He really wrote some cool stuff. I love the dual guitars in Billion Dollar Babies. In high school, I went to Raise Your Fist and Yell my senior year and handed Alice Cooper a head from one of my friend's sister's baby dolls, and Alice Cooper tortured, actually I handed the whole doll to him and he tortured it on stage and cut the head off of it, and I got it back at the end of the concert, brought it to school the next day in a paper bag. It's a great memory. True story. Class of '89, most likely to succeed. Let's see, Kirk Hammett is definitely the most successful. Marty Friedman, probably, no, I'd say Paul Gilbert's probably the second most successful with his lessons, and they're huge in Japan, Mr. Big. Marty Friedman, probably a close second. Vito, you know, he had a good run. Atomic, Tommy McClendon. Jason Becker, yeah. Poor dude. Who's this guy? Jamie Closer? Vester guitars. I swear there was a girl in my gym class in high school that had a pair of shorts that was made out of like the sweatpants stuff that was cut. Remember when they used to cut the shorts? And you know, you could see just almost like a little something sticking out of the bottom. Sometimes you would. Things were different back then. Look at this crackle finish, by the way. You know, I'm getting old. I mean, I'm like looking at this, but then I'm like, oh, the crackle finish. Halter tops and short shorts, man. 80s. This was 1990, but you know, I guarantee you this ad was made in the 80s. Oh, here we go. Here's the Whitesnake interview. There would have been a picture of Steve Vai here, and that's one I got autographed. That's why it's torn out. Could you have stayed with David Lee Roth? People have been asking, why did you do this? Why did you do that? I thought about it. In my opinion, one of the greatest singers in the world is in this band. I have a lot of freedom. I did whatever I wanted on the record, guitar-wise. The band is wonderful. The guys are rock and roll to the bone. I very much respect David Lee Roth. He's a very unique person, and I mean that in all sincerity. With all the years that Dave's been in the industry, he has the right to make the decisions. It was his band. I'm at the point in my life where there's a certain type of control that I don't want to give up. All right, so short answer is he wanted to do Passion and Warfare. It would net him more money, which was more important, and he could be his own artist. And Whitesnake was a perfect vehicle to promote Passion and Warfare. So, hey, you know, hired gun. How close did you come to looking? I guess that's for another project. I didn't. I wasn't going to start looking for at least 6 months. I had to do a solo album, and then once I found a band, I had to have the perfect music. I've got to write the music, and then I want to have control. I also want people who I can work with, who understand what I'm trying to do. Yeah, in hindsight, you think about David Lee Roth stuff. Steve really wanted to do, you compare a Steve Vai record to a David Lee Roth record. I mean, there's completely different, much more gratifying. He knew what he was wanting to do, and he took the bull by the horns and did it, which is fortunate for all of us. In some ways, it's like doing cover songs because they're not yours. The liberties that you take with them are greater. Oh yeah, I'll write something and I'll start out being complicated, and this stuff started very simply, so it was a different approach to me. He's talking about recording the Whitesnake album. You don't stand out like on Eat 'Em and Smile. You're part of the band. I know what you mean. There was more, let's see what he says here. There was more personality to it. You're closer. It's more in your face. When you just have one guitar and you're playing one guitar over the top and bottom without any effects or anything like that, it has more of a personal feel to it. It's more intimate. You can picture this guy sitting in his room playing. You can picture the guy in his room playing it. Deeper the Love, it's huge. It's got 14 guitars on it. Did you record the Ibanez Gem guitar? Did you record with Ibanez Gem guitars? There's only one guitar I use. I can't really play a Les Paul. On a Whitesnake album, there's one harmony to a melody that I played on a Les Paul. I never owned a Les Paul and always wanted a black Les Paul, so I bought it. I played the one line just so I could say, oh boy, I played something with a Les Paul. Everything on the Skyscraper album was a gem, and everything on the new Whitesnake album is the new Ibanez 7-string. And that's true. He mentioned that in the Steve Vai documentary. I'm going to go against my Steve Vai fanboyism, and I'm going to say that I never really liked Slip of the Tongue. I don't care for it. To this day, I listened to it recently, and it's smushy sounding to me. That's just my opinion. Not trying to offend anybody out there. I don't think the songs are good either. I don't like the material. It's not terrible, but it's just not me. It's not Whitesnake, man. The Whitesnake album and Slide It In was Whitesnake. Was there an inspiration to do the 7-string? About 2 years ago, I started listening to Michael Hedges. He's a fabulous guitarist. I have all his records. He's been doing things with low strings, totally unrelated to what I'm doing. I don't know if it was an influence or not. I don't recall ever making the connection, but I thought, why not? Everybody tries to sound heavy, and they only have 6 strings. Now, I read somewhere that he initially wanted to put a high string on it, and it would break, so he went low. So sometimes I think Steve, I'm not saying he lies, but sometimes I think he changes his stories up a little bit to fit the interview, or maybe the interviewers omit things. Who knows? Is there a song that you'd point out as a real good example of the sound? You hear it on 9 out of 10 songs. A lot of times you don't perceive it as, oh, there goes the 7th string. I think I did. Like I said, the album sounds smushy to me. I think it loses definition, but maybe they just didn't know how to record it back in those days. I mean, they didn't have 5150s. What amps did you record the Whitesnake album with? Let's see. I used a different setup for every song. I have about 7 different Marshalls that I like, and I use ADA for some stuff, and Carvin power amps. Yuck. Through a Schultz Rockman. Some songs I went through the Bob Bradshaw racks. Yeah, see, just too much stuff, man, dude. Just plug into a JCM 800 with a tube screamer. That's what that album needed. I think I hear the Eventide harmonizer on there. Whatever you hear is really strange effect. It's basically the H3000. Boy, he loved that thing too. I enjoyed the freedom you had on that solo. Western Vacation said it was kind of neat. It was totally free. And Sailing Ships has your acoustic side. The whole intro is like a classical guitar piece. It's very unique. What kind of voice does the acoustic guitar represent to you? The energy that you put into an instrument is the animal. You're the animal. You can make the acoustic guitar sound like a kitten or a tiger. In the past, you don't feel as comfortable playing blues. Traditional blues, I'm not comfortable with. I love listening to Stevie Vai. I've got the tapes in my car, the tapes. But if you ask me to play that type of blues, this is rock and roll blues. Got any favorite tracks on the album? Kitten's Got Claws, because it's Kill the Guy with the Ball. David knows how to verbalize very colorfully, and he does that with his lyrics. That's my least favorite song on the album. Did you ever want to forget all this and just jam for hours on a simple chord sequence? I think this interviewer is kind of feeling the way I was after hearing this album. I have to do that soon. I can give you all the excuses why I don't. I can tell you there's business involved, there's deadlines, there's albums. You cannot be creative now, but what really gets in the way to me is I don't allow myself the luxury at this time to be in the situation where I could just jam. I think about going to GIT and grabbing a bassist and a drummer and inviting them up to the house to just play. Don't tell anybody, don't record it, don't do anything, but just play. The situation I'm in now with Whitesnake, I'm playing, I'm expressing myself, and I'm enjoying it very much, but it's not like just being with a bass player and a drummer, jamming on Machine Gun for an hour. Oh, it'd be cool if he did that. I've often thought the drum machine is the best universal practice tool. Oh, absolutely. I personally feel if you don't have a drummer playing with a drum machine is imperative. I agree. I don't know what they're talking about there. Look at Kip Winger. Man, Beavis and Butthead just about ruined these guys. But now, because of Beavis and Butthead, these guys are like super popular. So who would have thought? The Steve Vai interview is continued. Several pages up here. So let's see. We'll take a look at... There's Kip. Kip's a great musician. After Winger, he went and got his... I think he got his master's in music composition. I thought that was Kip. That's Rudy Sarzo. That's Kip Winger. Look at that, man. First glance. I was like, now they're talking to Rudy. For all you guys that are really into bass, I'm sorry, but I'm going to kind of skip over this Rudy Sarzo interview out of interest of time, who I thought was Kip Winger with like better hair. Oh, gosh. It's getting late, fellas. I'm trying to put this video out so I have something for y'all to look at tomorrow, and I'm getting tired. Who uses Maxima Gold? Sounds like a condom. John Entwistle does. Alice Cooper does not. What have we got here? Oh, whoops, sorry about that, fellas. And the one lady subscriber that I have. Look at this Alice Cooper poster. Look at this. Man, I hate snakes. I can't deal with them. I don't kill them, but I don't want to be around a snake. How has your songwriting changed since the height of your popularity in the 70s? Well, it sucks. No, I went through a period when metal got popular of writing lyrics with riffs, as really all metal is. Usually the lyrics don't mean that much in metal. I don't know where these guys came up with all these mythological references. I totally lost it when they were into, on this album, I went back to doing so well. I went back to doing Billion Dollar Baby, School's Out, Nightmare style of writing. Now I'm writing a song and writing guitar around that. Kind of harsh. Where did the idea come from to take Alice into the sexual world? It was one of his realms. Alice makes fun of everything, sex, death, and money, or what everybody cares about. Okay. Look at these Sebring guitars. Everyone's always trying to create the perfect Strat and then the perfect Super Strat. To this day. There's Vandenberg again, healing hands, talking about his wrists, his hands. That's why Steve Vai was on that album. How does it feel knowing you wrote all the music but you didn't play any guitar on the record? Do you have a problem with that? Not ego-wise, but first of all, I've been touring for 2 years for an album where I only played one song. That just sums up that answer right there. I always felt bad for this dude. You know, when I saw that tour with Steve Vai, and David Coverdale gushed over Vai like every other song. He called him Jack Butler, the devil's guitar player. Steve had this long 15-minute solo where they played For the Love of God. Adrian was way in the background. I just felt really bad for Adrian. I thought it was, I don't know, I just had bad feelings about it, even though it was great seeing Vai. It was a good show. Do you see anywhere in the future another Vandenberg recording? After the tour, I'm definitely going to record a solo album. If only because I have to make up for the fact that I couldn't finish my guitar parts on this album. I don't think that ever happened. Don't think that ever happened. If it did, let me know. What were your first impressions upon hearing the music? The first thing that struck me was that David did the best vocals I've ever heard him do. I've been a fan of his since he joined Purple, but this is definitely the best vocal he's ever done. The other thing that struck me is that Steve did a great job, which I'd more or less expected because I've followed his career for years, and I think he's an amazing player. I was expecting some serious fireworks going down there, and that's exactly what happened. Are you going to play Steve's parts off the record? We don't know yet. Basically, the rhythm guitars are pretty much the same as they were. Was there a particular song that he worked on that you liked? You know, like a favorite song? One of the things that I like about him is that he's such a totally different player than I am. Doesn't look like he lists a song in there. This is when they released, oops, sorry about the bad camera work here. They had, every month they were releasing a half page with Passion and Warfare. Here's a little secret. I've got a tattoo on the top of my left arm that's got these angel girls in this pyramid and the number 777 on it. So I was a total fanboy, and I've got a Van Halen tattoo on my left arm too. Don't regret either one, but there's a little fact, a useless fact. Tell me about your PV guitar. I used to build a bunch of my own guitars. The guitar that I used for the Burning Heart video was, as far as I can tell, the first guitar with a reversed headstock. That's already 9 years ago, and nobody was using a reverse headstock then. For the PV guitar, I used a lot of ideas that I've accumulated over the years. What about your amp situation? I use PV amps all the time, the VTM and the tube amps. You change anything about your practicing habits so this type of injury won't happen again? I'd like to confess I'm a little paranoid about it. But it's getting better all the time because I'm getting more confident every day. All right. Poor dude. There's David Coverdale's interview. Man, this is like the Whitesnake issue. Tommy Bowl and the Ultimate Frustration. There's the Yamaha versions of the Strat and the Les Paul that went nowhere. Slap shot. Kitten's Got Claws. And starts off with Dave going, ow, 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 ow. This magazine had a lot of tabs. It's very thick. These pages are like parchment, man. Carving bass. There's the Reverend. Is he playing the Dean? Huh. That looks like a Dean logo. ZZ Top once said in an interview they grew their beards because they took like a year off and him and Dusty agreed not to shave. When they met up again, they both had these big beards and they never shaved them off. Love Billy Gibbons. He's another one of my top players. Here's the continuation of that Steve Vai interview. Forgot that we even started that thing. Speaking of payoffs, the feeling in the guitar community is that Eat 'Em and Smile was a big payoff and then Skyscraper was a small one. He says, I agree. I almost felt that what I did on that record sacrificed a certain mystique that I was working on. Certain things weren't the way I would have done them. A lot of the solos were flown in from one-take demos. Some of the songs I wouldn't have recorded, but it wasn't my record. I had a certain say on the record, but I would have changed or recorded other songs. I listened back to the guitars on there and realized that on an out of control hysterical playing level, it wasn't there like some of the past projects. That explains it right there. He was PO'd about how that whole Skyscraper thing went down. And Billy left for the same reason. He didn't like the direction. So what plateaus reached on the Whitesnake album? Reasons why people don't appreciate as far as physically playing the instrument. There hasn't been a plateau. In order for me to reach a plateau, I'd have to sit and play for 10 hours a day for several months. Then I'll reach another plateau. Unfortunately, I can't do that right now. Steve kind of comes off arrogant in this interview. I mean, I love Steve. Don't get me wrong, but he was a lot younger then. But this is a different kind of energy about him. I was picking up. He was going through a phase, I think. You've been called the ultimate hired gun because you have the ability to step into someone else's shoes and make them your own. And he says, to actually be professional encompasses more than just being able to play your instrument. You've got to know how to interact with the people you're working for and show enthusiasm for their ideas. You have to be able to weather the road. Are you born with that attitude, or is it something that you learn from hard knocks? It varies in degrees. People are born a certain kind of sense, common sense, a good business sense. Some people have good artistic sense, some people don't. Actually, artistic sense is pretty nebulous, but it comes with the territory you can learn. But if you're stubborn and you refuse to learn how to adapt, then you'll have to be your own type of world to deal with it. Last paragraph here, he says, I accepted the fact that I was going to be starving my whole life. If that happened, if it didn't, great. I was willing to accept anything, but I knew I had no choice. I just knew that I couldn't do anything else. I never worried about getting a job. I just did what I felt like I had to do, and fortunately for me, things worked out. They sure did. They sure did, man. This Mark Ferrari guy. Alex Massey. Italian-born and classically trained Alex Massey picked up the guitar at 15. Alex's new album, Attack of the Neon Shark, proves it. Guys, we got to look up Attack of the Neon Shark. Randy Rand. Dave Beast Spitz. Yeah, see, this is a whole Whitesnake story, starting from the beginning of, you know, Deep Purple, you know, Whitesnake, John Sykes era, Steve Vai, his Royal Darkness. Come on. I hate how David Coverdale uses people's formal names. Adrian and Stephen are both very bright, very articulate men, and their consuming passion is the music. I honestly don't see if there will ever be necessary to be a referee as I had to be before. I think the more they get to know each other, the more they will get on well together. So basically they don't know each other and they just don't really talk because they just got thrown together for this tour. I can't see a problem towards the next album. I'm sure with the maturity of both of them, it can be worked out. But that is a hidden factor. That is something that I cannot guarantee will happen. At this moment in time, I would crawl over broken glass and mud to achieve that promise or premise. Look at this guy's expression. Is that Mark St. John that was with Kiss? It's Bruce Kulick. He's playing a Kramer with some SIT. Oh man, we got some reviews here. Flying in a Blue Dream. Performance, heroic, hot spots. You pick 'em, bottom line, all that you were waiting for. Steel Wheels by the Rolling Stones. Bottom line, a great guitar album. Pump by Aerosmith, bottom line, as good as they get. Dr. Feelgood, bottom line, not the rowdy, shocking kids they once were. That's a great album compared to Pump. Secrets by Ellen Holdsworth. Bottom line, detached fusion majoring in synth acts. No thanks. There's Blues. Blues is cool. He's hilarious, man. That guy is a funny dude. Great player. Thought that was Lexi Fox from Steel Panther for a minute there. But they weren't around then. GK. Honer Amps. Mark Leaf Case Company. There's a Roto Vibe. There's the Warrant Boys. Where the town boys go. I liked Warrant, I'm not gonna lie. I thought Dirty, Rotten, Filthy, Stinking Rich was cool. I like Cherry Pie. Bobby Brown. Great video. Oh, this is a great way to end it, man. Check it out. There's the king. There's Ed sitting on the beach by the campfire, drinking a bottle of Smokin' Loon, playing his Kramer. Looks like he's got a Sustainiac in there, probably with all these switches. Got the cigarette up here, of course. Yep, Floyd Rose Sustainer is all you really need. I had a chance to buy one of these things for like $300, like 7 years ago, a blue one. I passed. Photo by David Bertinelli. They were probably all chilling on the beach by Eddie's house. Cool. All right, well, there you have it. Kittens Got Claws. Guitar World, or Guitar for the Practicing Musician, rather, February 1990. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, comment, and until next time, have a great day. Peace out.